I do environmental education here at Airlie Gardens, which has looked very different in this past year, as just has your coffee talks, I'm sure, look a bit different this year than they have in the past. And Nicole does a lot of our volunteers. She does our volunteer coordination. So she's going to talk a lot about different opportunities that we have here if you're ever interested in volunteering or coming out. I'm going to talk about some of the different programs and things that we do here on the grounds, and just kind of give you a rundown of kind of what we've been doing for the last year or so, which has been quite different. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we'll get started. Oh, super quick, has anybody not been to Airlie besides Rachel, who's brand new?
Just me?
Just Rachel.
I'll take it.
I love it.
Well, we had scheduled, this was before everything. Last spring, we had actually scheduled a group from the senior center to come out and do a guided tour. Obviously, that didn't work out, but hopefully we'll be able to do that again. We've actually just recently started our guided tours again, and the grounds look really great. So if you have the opportunity to come out, I definitely recommend it because it's beautiful right now. All right, so now I'll share my screen. Okay. Perfect. All right, I'm just gonna, so I can see you guys over here. Make this a little bit bigger. So, as most of you know, since you've been here, with the exception of Rachel there, Airlie is a 67-acre public garden, and it is owned by the county. So we are also part of New Hanover County, and it was purchased in 1999. So prior to that, it had two previous owners, at least when it really started to be cultivated as a garden. So prior to that, it was owned by the Corbett family. And then even before that, it was owned by Sarah and Pembroke Jones. And Sarah Jones was the one that really started cultivating the grounds here, which is pretty cool. So she had brought in a lot of our azaleas, a lot of pines, a lot of the camellias. So actually a lot of the plants that are here were plants that she really began to bring in the early 1900s, because she wanted this space to be this really kind of beautiful gardens and grounds for herself. And then in the very back of the property, they had a home, which was previously an inn, and they had purchased that and then made it into essentially this 38-room summer home, if you will. And so that was kind of where they really started developing towards the back where that house was, and it slowly creeped forward. And then in 1948, the Corbett family purchased the property from the Joneses, and they turned it into a public garden. So they started taking tickets, admission right at the front gate for 50 cents to come on through the grounds. And they tried to keep up with the same look of the grounds as well. So a lot of azaleas, a lot of camellias. And this general area, of course, has endured Bertha and Fran and Hazel and all of those storms. So it became very difficult for the Corbett family. And then that's when they actually put it up for sale. So the county purchased it with a grant because they wanted to keep it as a green space and keep it as a public garden, so that it would border Bradley Creek and kind of keep it as a buffer to that creek that's adjacent to us. So we actually have had a lot of opportunities here to do a lot of education, especially because we also have a nonprofit foundation that supports us as well. So our goal is to keep it as a historic public garden with a lot of influences with environmental education. So in a normal year, on a day like today, I would be out with, 60 to 100 school children running around these grounds. But hopefully we'll be back to that by next spring and next fall. So on a normal day, we'd be doing a lot of school programs, at least in the education department. And then of course, Nicole has people out in the gardens right now volunteering, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of just the background. And just in terms of COVID, we really didn't close at all. We only closed for 2 weeks. we kept operating kind of as normal. The only thing that was really different at the very beginning of everything was that our building was closed. And that stayed closed for a period of time. But other than that, honestly, people really visited out here quite a bit, which was nice because it felt like a nice safe haven for a lot of folks to come out, be able to have 67 acres that you kind of have your own little chunk of space that you can hang out in and not, have to feel like worried about what was going on around us. So it was pretty cool to actually be here and continue to be able to work and see people come out and enjoy that space and really get into the gardens and be visiting in very different ways than they have in the past. So it's been a really kind of interesting experience the last year for a lot of public gardens across the United States. Let me see here. All right. So in terms of kind of what I do, I teach a lot of environmental education. I've actually been teaching a lot more virtually, of course, and I've been teaching a lot more kind of public programming than I would with a lot of kids. So I'm seeing a lot of adult programming. I'm doing a lot of programming with families. So it's been really fun to kind of enjoy doing those things. We are actually coming up on one of my favorite times of the year, which is our butterfly house. So we have a 2,500 square foot butterfly house, and that space, we are actually getting our butterflies here in the next week is our first round of butterflies coming in. And then our butterfly house will officially open in mid-May, and it will run through October, hopefully, if there's no hurricane. Fingers crossed. So the butterfly house will be open. It's a really great educational opportunity to talk about pollinators and what's important and what you can do in your own backyard to kind of bring these animals in and really kind of make your own little space, even if it's just a container garden or if it's just a couple pots of different plants. So a lot of good ways to talk to people about, a lot of different flowering plants and why they're so important, especially our native plants to our area. So we do a lot of programming for a variety of ages. I do have a couple of school field trips coming up. So we focus a lot on their curriculum, and that makes it a lot easier for public schools to come out and enjoy the grounds because it gives them a reason to cover curriculum and be able to come out and kind of have that experiential education as aside from being in the classroom. So I'm hoping to see a lot more kids next year since they've been doing tons of virtual stuff. I'm sure they're itching to get out of the class or get out of their home or the classroom, get outside really, enjoy those programs. I do work a good bit with volunteers. They help out with our educational programming as well. And then we will do outreach and different special events around town if they're happening, which we're starting to do those as well. So it's been slowly kind of inkling our way back into being able to educate a lot of people in an outdoor sense, which has been awesome. So this is just we focus a lot on pre-K through 8th grade. So a lot on kind of your your elementary school kids. Our curriculum really focuses on a lot of water quality, pollinators, your soils and plants, and how those things all interact together and why they're so important to have interacting together. And everything we do is really kind of these outdoor experiences, getting your hands dirty, kind of learning things that you wouldn't have done in the past. So it's a really enjoyable way to see kids interact, which has been pretty fun too. So this summer we've got some summer camps coming in. Different daycares are coming in throughout the summertime. So we're really getting ready to kind of have all of those people out here. And we just want to see as many people as we can. So lots of scheduled programs and a lot of different public programs that we have coming up. So just in general for our regular programming, we do bird hikes out here, usually the second Wednesday of every month. We've actually increased the number that we have had, which is cool because we've had so many people actually wanting to come out and do these bird hikes. So we've had to add a second bird hike into each month so that more people could enjoy them, but also keep our group sizes small enough that it's not, everybody feels safe and also you're still able to see birds. So the combination of those two things, we'll be hopefully be doing our butterfly releases every Tuesday at 2. So we'll go out into the butterfly house We'll talk about their life cycle. Everybody will get a really nice up close look, of course, at our butterflies. And then we'll release them out into the butterfly house. We have a bug zoo, which actually lives in our classroom space. So a lot of different native animals that you can find. We have that year round. It'll be from May through October, not year round. And we also have our special public programming, which we've been doing a lot of. So we did some classes on how to plant for pollinators, different workshops. We're doing one with the aquarium about frog calls. So lots of cool things with that as well. We are going to be doing our summer concert series and our summer art exhibit just on different scales this year. Our art exhibit is going to be 10 4-foot owls that'll be scattered around the garden and 10 different local artists that will be painting them. So last year we did a squirrel exhibit, and this year we are doing owls, and we are very excited to have a really awesome eclectic group of artists that are participating this year. So if you have the opportunity, that will open in July and run through the end of the year. And the first Sunday of each month is free for New Hanover County residents to come out. So if you're interested in seeing the art exhibit, that's a cool way to be able to do it as well. And I'm going to turn it over to Nicole about some of our volunteer opportunities.
Awesome. So like Alyssa said, one of my jobs here is volunteer coordinator at Airlie. Last year, obviously with COVID, most of our volunteer operations were shut down for most of the year. We were able to bring back some areas safely. So I'll kind of mention which ones have been brought back and which ones not, but I did want to touch on each of them just so you know what we have available. So why volunteer? We offer flexible schedules for volunteers. You kind of build your own schedule as needed. I realized we spelled schedules wrong there.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful gardens. So it's a beautiful space to volunteer. Obviously, we're 67 acres. A lot of our volunteer positions are actually out in the garden, so you get to enjoy nature kind of while you're giving back. It's rewarding. So like Alyssa touched on, we are a nonprofit as well. So not only are you giving your time to a beautiful garden, you're giving back to the community. So it is really rewarding, and most of all, it is fun. So I think if you talk to any of our volunteers out here, they will tell you that first thing, that it is definitely fun to volunteer out here at Airlie. So I'll kind of touch on the different areas that we have volunteer opportunities in, and then we'll kind of dive into them a little bit more. So we have, you click your mouth.
I'm in charge. I'm in charge of the clicker.
So first one is Tram Drivers. So we have an accessibility tram that drives through the grounds, maybe for those of us who can walk the full mile distance, or just those who want to kind of sit and ride through on a hot day. Our tram drivers are knowledgeable in history a lot of times, plants in the gardens, things like that. So they kind of offer their own tidbits to riders. Right now, our tram, unfortunately, is not running. I have not been able to bring tram drivers back, but we'll kind of touch more on that. But usually it's like 2-hour shifts. You have maybe one day a week, or you just kind of do it as you can, fits into your schedule. We have a lot of events in the gardens. Alyssa kind of touched on some of those. Concert series, Enchanted Airlie. We've started doing after hours for members, things like that volunteers can help with. New Hanover County Resident Free Day is a big one that we've had lately, first Sunday of each month. Gift shop, we do have a gift shop here at Airlie. So we have some kind of like retail volunteer positions, some environmental education opportunities with Alyssa's programming. That kind of ties into Garden Ambassador too. We have garden guides, so they are trained in the history of Airlie. They lead guided tours through the gardens, really popular in the springtime. Like Alyssa said, we've just started picking that back up. A lot of training with that, but it's really fun. You learn a lot. We have a couple different areas that we have garden ambassadors, and that's essentially just kind of like an additional resource out in the gardens in certain areas. So we'll kind of touch on that. And then our most popular area is grounds, and that is a weekly opportunity that we have, and it can be anything from like mulching, weeding, pine strawing, stuff like that. So it's kind of, you know, getting out in the gardens and getting dirty.
Which really we cannot function without those people. We only have 7 like landscape staff. So the ground stays are really quite important to our function here at Airlie.
So we'll hit on that one first, since it is kind of the most popular. So like I mentioned, it does happen weekly. So every Wednesday and Thursday, typically the hours are about 9 a.m. to noon. That time is flexible, so you can come as you need to, leave early, arrive late. It's kind of whatever fits your need. We have some volunteers that come once a week, some that come both days, and some that'll come, once a month, whatever fits best for them. And it could be anything from weeding, mulching, pine strawing, some pulling of vines, and occasionally planting. I think some of the volunteers helped with some of the tulips this year, which was awesome. And they do rotate the lawn area, so you're kind of getting to experience all the different areas of the garden. It's something new kind of every day. It's a really fun area of volunteering, and it's easy to start off with and get involved in.
Oh, my bad.
All right, tram drivers. So I kind of touched on this. This is driving our accessibility tram through the gardens. If you're interested in the history, you can give kind of history. A lot of our tram drivers train in history as well. It does require a background check and a driver record check. So it is a little bit more paperwork for that. And like I said, it's usually about 2-hour shifts on a weekly schedule, or, as needed. So when we did have tram drivers, it was like 10 to 12, 12 to 2, or 2 to 4 p.m. And we tried to have them every day. I'm hoping to bring tram drivers back late summer, fall. We'll kind of see how it goes. And we actually do have a tram driver training scheduled for, I think it's late summer. So if you're interested in getting involved in that, we do have an upcoming training for that. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Another popular area of volunteering a lot of people like to volunteer in are all of our events. We are bringing back concerts this year. I haven't logistically figured out where all the volunteer positions are going to be for that, but in the past it's been helping with parking, helping with check-in. We have an off-site parking lot for that as well, which is actually going to be in a different spot this year. It could be at the front gate, checking parking passes coming in. So a lot of different areas there to kind of help, and you get to enjoy music kind of in the background as you're doing it. So that's a popular area. The concerts this year are going to be July through September, the first and third Friday of each of those months. So it's going to start, I think, July 2nd. So that's something that's really fun to get involved in. I hope to kind of get that sign up out soon. Another huge event we do, Enchanted Airlie. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. It's our holiday light display that we do Thanksgiving weekend through December 22nd. That usually requires about 280 volunteer shifts to be filled. So that is a huge volunteer need that we have. Last year, we did actually have Enchanted Airlie volunteers, so that was awesome. And it's a really, really fun event to volunteer for. You could be greeting, you could be in the gift shop, you could be, a lot of our volunteers that night they're kind of walking around, basically just making sure people know where they're going and helping out with directions and things like that. And in the past, we've had some Santa's helpers and helping with the line there. Some other areas with events that we do a free day for New Hanover County residents the first Sunday of each month. So a lot of that is kind of like a roving garden monitor situation where you're walking around, helping with check-in, that kind of thing. And then we've recently kind of been doing some after hours for members where we've been incorporating volunteers. And that's what we call it, Airlie member evening. So that's kind of been a new opportunity we've had. Gift shop, kind of self-explanatory. We have a gift shop here. You are providing information to visitors. Sometimes you're selling tickets, sometimes you're selling memberships. A lot of times you're selling merchandise. So it is kind of retail based. We do have a point of sale system that we train you on. Right now, I do not have gift shop volunteers back. That's another one that I'm hoping to bring back sooner rather than later, hopefully in the summertime. And I do also have a virtual training scheduled for that as well, if anyone's interested. And then finally, kind of one of our other most popular areas, garden guides and garden ambassadors. These are two really fun areas. Obviously, garden guides are the docents who are trained on our history, horticulture, and some ecology of Airlie. They are leading groups that are scheduled with Alyssa through the gardens. Usually it's weekdays, I think, weekday tours that we'll do. And they usually last about an hour to an hour and a half. And it is walking a group through the gardens and just kind of going over the history that you're trained in. We have a lot of training usually for that. And usually multiple times a year, we'll have some type of history training for volunteers. And even if you're interested in other areas of volunteering, you can join in on those trainings, because it's always helpful to know some of the history about Airlie when you're volunteering here. Garden Ambassadors is a really awesome kind of new program we brought around the last 2 or 3 years. Essentially, that's being a resource out in the gardens in a specific area and having kind of a specific topic that you may be knowledgeable about. So right now, we've done trainings and have garden ambassadors on our bottle chapel, which is the Minnie Evans bottle chapel, if you aren't familiar with it. It's a really awesome feature in the gardens in honor of Minnie Evans. And she worked at the ticket booth at Airlie. And she's also an acclaimed self-taught artist. She has a really amazing story that we like to tell. So we have a lot of volunteers who are trained in her history and that area, and kind of just are there by the bottle chapel to provide information to our garden visitors. We did one on birds. So we have a big birding community here in Wilmington. Airlie is a big birding spot. Alyssa kind of mentioned how popular the bird hikes are. They've been selling out like crazy lately. So we do train our volunteers, or we have done one training at least on some of the popular birds that you might see at Airlie, so that you could be a resource for garden guests on maybe what some of the birds are that they might see here in the gardens. And then finally, we've done one on the butterfly house. So we do have trained volunteers who are knowledgeable on the types of butterflies that are in the butterfly house, the butterfly life cycle, some of the host plants that we might have in there. And they kind of hang out in the butterfly house, maybe for like an hour or two certain days, just providing resources to garden guests. And that could be something that you could schedule weekly as a shift. It could be at special events, like we've been having them for Airlie member evenings, or just kind of as you want to come out and sit out in the gardens and offer, as a resource for those topics. So it's just a really fun thing we've been expanding on.
Also, just a side note about our garden ambassadors, it really is something in terms of education. So a lot of people just come out here and they enjoy walking the grounds. It's super tranquil, it's very pretty. But it's nice to be able to have, given that our staff is fairly small and you can't be out in the grounds all the time, it's nice to have people that have interests in certain things and learn them over a period of time, and then help kind of educate the folks that are walking around. So our visitors that are local, or our visitors that are, coming in the summer, which tend to be,
Out of state.
Sorry.
Sometimes international.
So it's nice, especially with the bottle chapel, because we had to end up putting a gate on the front of it because we had issues with the glass breaking. So when we have a volunteer out there, they're actually able to open the bottle chapel, and guests get to experience something different than they wouldn't usually experience. So the Garden Ambassadors is really a really awesome program that we have. So if you ever visit, especially on a free day too, we try and have multiple of them out in the grounds. And usually that's when we definitely have the bottle chapel open for guests.
And especially as we start getting the butterflies in, we'll probably, do at least a retraining of the butterfly house garden ambassadors. So if that's something that interests you, we'll kind of talk about the next couple steps of getting involved, and that would be something to look forward to. So how to get started. Number one step for if you are interested in volunteering at Airlie, just go to our website. So our website is airliegardens.org. We have a get involved header at the top. If you click on that, it'll drop down a menu where you can click on volunteer. We've got all of our volunteer information there, and also an online application. So if you fill out that online application, it tells me what you might be interested in volunteering in, kind of gives me your contact information, and then I reach out to you directly from there and tell you what some of the upcoming trainings and opportunities are, and see where the best placement is to get you started. So definitely recommend checking that out if you are interested in any of the topics we talked about today.
I'm just gonna stop sharing your screen. So that's the end of our presentation, I guess. We definitely focused a lot about volunteering, but does anybody have any questions, just even about like the grounds right now, or anything of that nature? We've really kind of enjoyed being able to teach virtually, but we're also super excited to get people back out into the garden. And hopefully you guys were able to reschedule your guided tour again soon. Sooner rather than later. Any questions, comments, concerns? Anything you want to know, you're dying to know?
Has anybody ever volunteered at the gardens?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I was curious if you had any volunteers
check
at
them
Senior
out.
Resource. It is a cool place to volunteer, definitely. And a lot of camaraderie. Like a lot of people build friendships and relationships volunteering out here, which has been really cool to see. Just a reminder, we are open 7 days a week,
Mhm.
9 to 5 typically. And we're doing all of our ticketing online for the most part. So you would just buy a ticket online before you get here. $9 per adult, since y'all are all residents, I'm assuming, of New Hanover County, it's $5. Reminder that the first Sunday of every month is free for New Hanover County residents. You just have to reserve a ticket and come on out. And we also have annual memberships. So if you're curious about, joining with an annual membership, we have all the information on our website, or we can answer, any questions you might have about that too.
When's the last time you guys have been out to the garden since I think you all.
Oh, wow.
Has it been a while?
It's been a while, yeah. I think 2007 or something.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can come
The
out.
butterfly house is new then.
Yeah,
too.
you've never been to the butterfly house that's open.
Well, no, I have. I'm sorry. I've been since then. Yeah. I can't tell exact date, but I've been to the butterfly house.
The
Yeah.
butterfly house opened in 2009.
Okay. Was that? Yeah.
The
Okay.
Bottom Chapel, that whole sculpture garden was 0405. So if you haven't been out here since then, that's like probably one of the most popular, honestly, one of the most popular features of the of the grounds, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the
And
art
the Bobble House. The Bobble House. Is good,
Yeah.
Yep, the art exhibit is something we do every year. It changes every year. We've got owls, like Alyssa said, this year. So July through December, if you come and visit us, that'll be something new that you may not have seen before here that celebrates local artists and things like that. So
yeah, we're really excited about the group of artists that we have this year. Each one is like so different, and everybody has like their own style, and some of them are different different materials and mediums. Yeah, they're really cool looking, so we're excited to see how they all turn out. If you have an opportunity, kids really love them too. So if you got grandkids in the area, or kids in the area, the kids, we do a scavenger hunt for all of the owls and things like that. So little rhymes that kind of get you through the gardens to find them all. It would be difficult to miss them given their size, but the kids love the little scavenger hunts to be able to come out and roll through the gardens and run through, and it's just so much fun to see them running up to this 4-foot owl just to give it a big old hug. So it's a nice thing to have.
Miss Barbara, when's the last time you went to the gardens?
About 2 years ago.
Okay, what about you, Miss Gwen?
I have not been.
Okay, me either.
Goodness.
Mm-hmm.
I have not
We
been
gotta
at all.
schedule your guided tour. Rachel, is that something that you would do? Do you schedule that?
Yeah, I can definitely talk and see what we can come up with for sure.
So we wouldn't be able to do our tram tours, but we could still do, we just started our guided tours. Our docents that have been leading them have been really excited. So we have a church group that's coming today. We did a community one yesterday. The True Colors Brewing is coming next week, or 2 weeks. So we definitely just started scheduling them again. So if you guys are interested and comfortable being out, it's definitely something that we can get scheduled, especially since you haven't been here before. I want you to come out and visit us. So it'd be really fun to be able to bring you guys out, especially since we attempted last year.
Yes.
I think we tried. I think it
So
was,
I have a quick question for you. What events that you guys have coming up would you say you need the most volunteers for, or where is an area you need more volunteers? 'Cause I know, we've got a lot of people who will watch this recording back and be interested. So I want to be sure to give them as much info as possible about where you could use the help.
Sure. So we always need grounds volunteers. That is huge help to our garden staff. The other areas that I'll be looking for volunteers for, I am going to be bringing back tram driving. I don't know how many tram drivers I've lost. So potentially bringing in a lot of new tram drivers this year. Gift shop as well. I haven't really figured out what my needs are going to be and how many people may not be coming back. So if anyone is interested in that area, we had a lot of volunteers move away last year. And then I would say, we will be gearing up for concerts. And so I've got to kind of work out where exactly those spots are going to be, but that's probably going to be the next big event I'll be filling for volunteers, that'll have a sign up sheet on the website that I'll kind of send out through to our active volunteers. And then we're doing some member evenings coming up in May and June. So those will be kind of after hours on Friday evenings. I think it's 5:30 to 7:30. So just like a short 2-hour shift out in the gardens after hours.
So pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, we can always use more volunteers. That's just the most upcoming stuff I'll have. Obviously, Enchanted Airlie, like I said, is late November. I start scheduling for that in fall, like September, October, because it takes me so long, and that's 260 plus shifts. So all of our areas is a large quantity of volunteers needed. So anywhere really that speaks to you, I will take you.
Yeah, any of them. Also, I'm just gonna plug garden ambassadors because it's something that I particularly teach. People get very nervous about trying to learn new things and new topics. And I want to be really clear, all of the people that do our garden ambassadors are like fresh into learning each one of these topics. And it's not something that if a visitor were to ask you a question that it's uncommon to say, hey, I don't know the answer to that. Sometimes people are just, when they find you at a certain area, they just want to know, like, hey, where's the closest bathroom?
Yeah.
You know,
Where am
so
I? Yeah.
where am I? Can you show me on this map?
Yeah,
And then
so-
sometimes people, are more curious about what particular topics you're speaking on. But our two most popular, of course, are the Bottle Chapel and the Butterfly House. But I don't ever want to scare anybody off by saying the word training and like, getting involved and you have to do training and things like that, because there's so many opportunities to work with other volunteers that are already here or work with us as staff to start learning these things if you're ever really curious about them. And even if you took a training and you're like, hey, that's not for me, you may have learned something new. And honestly, that's just as good for us being able to educate other people anyways. So even if it's not for you and you're interested in the training, you might have learned something in the meantime. So it works out pretty well either way.
Yeah, a lot of volunteers cross-train. Like I was saying, a lot of tram drivers are interested genuinely in history. They don't know all the history, but they like to know a couple tidbits, and that's when they'll join in on the garden guide training. So it's not exclusive to, like, you have to be a garden guide if you do a garden guide training.
Yeah.
It's helpful in all areas. You could be a butterfly house garden ambassador and know a little bit about the history, and one little fact could be really interesting to a visitor. So it's not, and we're always learning. I still don't know everything about Airlie. I've been here about 7 years. And it's just an ongoing process. So I'm correcting myself every day on things that I thought I knew.
Me too. It's just the nature of the world, right?
Yeah. You can't always know everything. No one does. So don't be intimidated.
Anybody have any other questions? Or Rachel, do you have any other questions?
Is there a special price for Enchanted Airlie?
Yeah, so the price for Enchanted Airlie is actually for your car. So really you're paying for the parking spot because our parking lot is so little. So we have to do it by car, it's not per person. So if you had it's $30. So if you had a car and you had one person in it and you had a car that had 6 people in it, it would be the same cost. So you cram as many people as you can get into your car and then you park it. Safely, yeah, in the parking lot, and then you're able to walk around. So it's well, I guess technically it's $33.
Yeah, with
our the fee, but yeah, so that's the cost for the lights. If you're interested in coming to the lights at all, you can sign up for our newsletters, and I would recommend doing that because a lot of times they sell out really quickly.
Yes.
Especially the days that are like weekend days. Usually the weekday days don't go as fast, but if you're really interested, we always recommend buying them sooner rather than later.
And typically it's about beginning of October that those would go on sale. So if you can just keep in your mind fall, like, check our website, maybe September, you're going to see those ticket dates and everything on there at that time. And it's usually about the first week of October, our members will be able to reserve. Right after that is when they open to the public. So yeah.
Good question. Any other questions?
I have one more for you, and it's kind of a question for each of you. If you were to recommend one thing that visitors have to see in the gardens before they leave that day, what would it be?
Depends
Like
on
your individual preference.
I was gonna
it
say,
depends on the time of the year.
like if you're coming like for me personally, if you're coming peak bloom when tulips are blooming, when everything like late March, early April, kind of last couple weeks, I would say the spring garden, because that's where you're going to see the most tulips. It's also just like historically really cool to where the house used to be. And then the second, I would say the bottle chapel and the butterfly house.
Oh, you stole mine.
Sorry.
Well, one, I raised the butterflies for the butterfly house, so you have to go see that. So that's pretty much, you must see that. So I put a lot of work to that. So I definitely recommend that. But again, that's very seasonal. So the really super cool thing about the grounds here is that, well, one, we're in a climate that you can have so much variety throughout the year. Whereas if you were in the north, obviously we'd be covered in snow, and it wouldn't necessarily be the nicest trip through the ground. But the cool thing about here is we do truly have something changing every year. So just like Nicole was saying, we plant 60,000 tulip bulbs that pop up in March. And then shortly after that, you have the azaleas blooming in April. And then,
You got butterflies in
you have butterflies in
art in July.
the summer rolling in. So it just really truly depends on the time of year. And if you ever thought, I don't want to go visit a garden in the winter, I challenge you on that, because our camellias that we have here, and you probably have seen them all throughout Wilmington, we have probably at least near 4,000 camellias here on the ground. And some of them are really quite old. So they start blooming in November, and some of them are still blooming right now. So if you come in like January or February, just walking the grounds through here, you see the camellias blooming. Some of the petals are starting to fall. So the ground almost looks like these red, pinks, and white hues. And you're walking through it. It's just a totally magical time, even though it's winter.
Yeah,
So it's, it truly depends on the time of year. But if you come in the summer, you must see the butterfly house.
And as far as like we're saying, permanent features, like what you can see year round, always check out the bottle chapel. If you're interested in history at all, it just has like the coolest story to it. And you can just, I don't know, people come from all over to visit the bottle chapel and learn about many events. And I just think it's one of the coolest features that we have in the gardens that you can see year round. So that would probably be my pick, non-seasonal pick.
And if you come on a free day, for sure, we'll have volunteers there, and they'll be able to tell you all about everything that went into the bottle chapel, and then the whole background of mini events as well, which is super cool. And you'd be able to go in it on that day as well. So I agree. So it didn't really specifically answer your question, because we pretty much told you to come to the garden throughout the entire year. So, I tried.
No, I think it was great. Mr. George, what's your question?
No, I just got a statement that's saying that best thing for me when I went is the colors.
Right?
The different.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, all these, it's amazing.
It really is. So like one things that Minnie Evans, like she's quoted saying, is there's over 600 shades of green. And, she worked here for 27 years, throughout pretty much her entire life. She didn't retire from working at Airlie until she was, I think, 87, I believe. Don't quote me on that. You have to ask one of her moms. But, she was just truly inspired by the colors of these grounds. And I totally agree with you in every way, shape, or form. It's just pretty crazy.
So Airlie Gardens is open year round. There's no time it closes, right?
So the only time we are closed, we're closed on certain holidays, I'll say. So I think it's Christmas, Thanksgiving Day, New Year's Day, so January 1st. And then we close typically for the Azalea Festival's garden party, which this year, it's usually April. This year it's July 30th, so it's a weird random date. We'll be closed for that. And we are closed on Mondays in January and February.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Other than that, we are open.
We have only 4 holidays. Yeah, so we had quite the visitation on Easter Sunday, because it was free day plus Easter. So there was a lot of stuff blooming. So people really coming out in their Sunday best on Easter. So it's kind of nice to see everybody.
Miss Gwen, do you have a question?
Yes. Did I understand you correctly when you said that once a month there are free tickets, you get to get in free?
Yeah. So
is it the first of the month the last of the month,
So it's gonna be the first Sunday of every month. And if you
First
go,
Sunday.
first
Okay.
Sunday, if you go on our website, it is an event. So you can click on our events page. It's New Hanover County Resident Free Day. And if you click on that, you'll see where you can reserve tickets specifically for that day. And the tickets obviously are complimentary. You'll just type in your address, your zip code, your email address, and that's how you'll reserve. And it is the first Sunday of each month. And we always have it as an event on our website.
So Rachel, I'll actually send you the link for
Mhm.
that. We just right now, we do have a limited, like we have to, it's capped at a pretty high number, but it's capped just because you know, with COVID and
Parking.
stuff and parking. So it is temporarily.
Sign
capped.
up
So
now.
Rachel, I'll send you that link if you want to send it out to everybody specifically for May. May is free day.
Mhm.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, does anybody have any other questions they can think of? That was a good one, Ms. Gwen. That was my question too. How many tickets do you guys have? So I'm glad you answered that. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for joining us and for all
Thank
of your
you.
information. It was a wonderful presentation, and I'm looking forward to getting out there. It's been on my list to get out there soon. So Ms. Gwen, you'll have to join me. We'll have to go see it for the first time.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, you can either, Rachel has my contact information, and Nicole, if you could certainly reach out, or if you reach out to her, she can reach out to us as well. So just let us know, and anything really, and we'll try and answer for you.
Well, we
Okay.
really appreciate you guys. Thank you for all you
Mhm.
do out there,
Thank
and
you.
I look forward to seeing you hopefully soon.
Thank you.
Mhm, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I just wanted to, before we end today, we've got just a little bit of time left. I wanted to make sure everyone knew, if you didn't already, and answer any questions about our reopening. We did open the center up on Monday at a limited capacity. And we do have classes taking place at the center as well as still virtually. So I just wanted to see if there were any questions about how to go about registering for those classes. If you had any questions about which classes we had available right now, anything like that.
I do. Do you have
Okay.
exercise class available?
Yes, ma'am, we do. We have multiple of them at multiple times throughout the day. So with all of our classes right now, we do have to have registration. And I can get you that information if you'd like, but did you have a specific class in mind you were wanting to know?
Yes.
Which one?
Which ones are offered?
Right now, we have.
Do you know?
Yeah, I do. I have it right here in front of me. Actually, I wanted to be prepared to give you guys any info you wanted. So right now we have Jerry Fit with Mary is back. We have Jerry Fit with Annette that will be starting next week.
Jerry Fit. Now, what does that consist of?
So from what I understand, it's the large exercise class. I believe it used to take place in the multi-purpose room. There's usually a very large group led by Mary, and I believe they also did it in the congregate dining as the activity some days a week. We also have several of the dance classes started back up again. So we have line dance, tap for beginners. We do have men's exercise with Fran is back. And then let's see, a gentle yoga for bone and back health as well. So we have all of our classes right now skipped. That one is available too. It'll be starting
The yoga
again
class.
next week. Yes, we do have
Next
that. It's
week.
starting up on the 20th, which is Tuesday. So the 20th at 1:30 p.m. If you're interested, I'd be happy to get you the information on how to register for that. So we do have
Yes,
some art
ma'am.
classes that are taking place as well. Card games and things like that. Billiards is open, as well as table tennis. And then we do have some of our groups that are meeting again as well. So we do have to have everyone register in advance just so that we can keep a head count. Does anyone have any questions on how to do that? If they had tried or wanted to know how? No? Okay, no problem. Well, if you do, we do have links on our website, the Senior Center website, or you can also just give us a call. Anybody at the Senior Center will be able to point you in the right direction of where to get more information, how to do that. Okay. Well, I wanted to, instead of having a senior in the news, I wanted to make sure we got to cover the reopening. We're very excited that everyone's back. For me, being new to the center, this is the first time that I've gotten to see classes take place and have everyone in the building. So even with limited capacity, it's been a lot of fun. And if you haven't gotten to come out and see the renovations in person, I really recommend you at least stop by and take a quick look around. It's beautiful, and everyone, it's so funny. Everyone stops by and there's like, you wouldn't believe how different it looks. There used to be carpet on these walls, and now there's just bulletin board. Everyone's just so shocked. So it's been really fun for me, and I know the rest of the staff as well is just so pleased to have everyone back. So you guys have any questions about any of that? Ms. Gwen, I'll definitely get you some information. No?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, it was nice meeting you on the Appreciation Day.
It was so nice to see you in person. I'll tell you, it's hard to recognize people too. With right now, you see me without a mask on, but with a mask on in person, you can't tell who anybody is.
True. Very true. Yes.
Well, good. Well, hopefully we'll be getting, as time goes on, we'll be able to open with more capacity and have more classes. We'll start adding classes for May. I don't know that they will have any new ones available at that point, but we'll start adding those here soon. So if you're interested in waiting and taking some classes, maybe starting next month, that should be available pretty soon. But we'll still be doing our coffee talks each week, and I'm really looking forward to it with you guys. Is there any other questions for me or anything I can answer? No, I'm gonna go ahead and stop our recording then. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Rachel.